The fishing town of Kelara sat nestled between restless ocean waves and jagged cliffs, where salt hung thick in the air and gossip spread faster than morning tide. Here lived Amara, a woman whose smile could warm the coldest hearts and whose hands were always busy with kindness. She mended torn nets for elderly fishermen, carried water for sick neighbors, and sang lullabies to crying babies while their mothers worked the docks. But in Kelara, a woman's worth was measured by one thing alone: the children she bore. And Amara's womb remained empty. 7 years had passed since she married Kofi, the gentlest soul in the village. He loved her fiercely, defending her against every cruel word. But love couldn't silence the mockery that followed her like shadows. "There goes the hollow tree," Neka would announce whenever Amara passed, her voice dripping with venom. Neka had birthed 8 children and wore her fertility like a crown. Beautiful bark, but no fruit inside. The other women cackled, their laughter sharp as broken shells. "Perhaps she's cursed," another suggested loudly. "Why else would the gods refuse her?" Amara kept walking, basket balanced on her head, dignity wrapped around her like armor. But each insult carved deeper wounds that no one saw. At night, she pressed her palms against her flat belly and whispered desperate prayers into the darkness. Kofi's aunt, Mama Sade, made the situation unbearable. The old woman ruled their household with iron words and harder judgments. 7 years, Amara, 7! Mama Sade's voice cracked like thunder one morning. "My nephew wastes his prime on barren soil. You shame this family." "Auntie, please," Amara began. "Please? Please what?" Mama Sade stepped closer, eyes blazing. "The ancestors are angry. They've closed your womb because you're unworthy. I should have married Kofi to someone useful." That afternoon, Mama Sade delivered her cruelest blow. "If nothing changes by next dry season, I'm bringing another wife for Kofi, a woman who can give him sons." Kofi exploded in anger, but his defense felt hollow against the weight of cultural expectation. Amara smiled weakly and pretended everything was fine. But that night she cried until no tears remained, feeling like a failure in every possible way. The humiliation reached its peak during the harvest festival. Every woman in Kelara presented their children to the village elders for blessings. Amara stood at the edge of the gathering, watching mothers parade their babies with pride. Neka spotted her and raised her voice deliberately. "Oh, Amara, why don't you come forward? Oh, wait," she paused for effect. "You have nothing to present. How sad." The crowd erupted in cruel laughter. Even people who usually ignored the mockery joined in this time. Something inside Amara shattered completely. She didn't think, she didn't plan, she simply ran, through the village gates, past the fishing docks, along the cliff path where jagged rocks met furious waves below. Tears blurred her vision. Her chest heaved with sobs that came from somewhere deeper than her lungs. She ran until she reached the edge of the world, where the cliff dropped into the churning sea. There, Amara fell to her knees and screamed at the sky. "Why? Why have you made me this way? What sin did I commit to deserve this torture?" The wind whipped around her, carrying her anguish out to sea. For a moment, she considered stepping forward, ending the pain forever. But just as despair nearly won, she heard something, a sound that didn't belong to the wind or waves. Crying. Children crying. Amara wiped her eyes, confused. The crying continued, faint but unmistakable. She stood slowly, following the sound along the cliff face, until she discovered something she'd never noticed before. a narrow opening in the rocks, almost invisible behind hanging vines. Heart-pounding, she pushed through the entrance and found herself in a large cave illuminated by cracks in the stone ceiling. And there, huddled together on the cold ground, were 4 children. The oldest looked about 10, thin as reeds with hollow eyes. She held 3 smaller ones against her, a boy around 7 and 2 twin girls who couldn't have been more than 5. All 4 were filthy, dressed in rags, trembling with cold and hunger. They stared at Amara with terrified eyes, expecting another adult who would chase them away or worse. "Please don't hurt us," the oldest girl whispered, voice cracking. "We'll leave. We'll go somewhere else." Amara's heart cracked open. She knelt slowly, making herself small and unthreatening. "Hurt you? No, no, my darlings, I would never." Her voice broke with emotion. "How long have you been here?" "Since the big storm," the boy answered quietly. "The one that sank the boats. Our families, they didn't come back." The storm. Amara remembered it vividly. 3 months ago, a tempest had capsized several fishing vessels. The village had mourned the lost fishermen, but apparently overlooked their orphaned children entirely. "Have you been here alone all this time? Has no one fed you, cared for you?" The oldest girl, who introduced herself as Zara, shook her head. "People chased us away, called us bad luck, said orphans bring curses." Tears spilled down her dirty cheeks. "We steal food when we can. We try to stay hidden." Amara felt rage and sorrow collide in her chest. While she'd been crying about her empty arms, these children had been starving, abandoned by the same community that mocked her supposed worthlessness. She made a decision that would change everything. "Come with me," she said firmly, extending her hand. "All of you." "Where?" Zara asked suspiciously. "Home. My home. I'll feed you, clothe you, protect you." Amara's voice grew stronger with each word. "You won't hide anymore. You won't go hungry anymore." The children stared at her in disbelief. The smallest twin began to cry, this time from hope rather than fear. One by one, they took Amara's hands and followed her out of that dark cave into the dying light of day. When Amara walked back through Kelara's gates with 4 ragged children trailing behind her, the village fell silent. Then the whispers exploded like wildfire. "Has she gone mad? She brought back those cursed orphans? They'll bring disaster to us all." Mama Sade met them at the door, face purple with fury. "What is this? What have you done?" "I found children starving in a cave," Amara replied calmly, though her heart hammered. "I'm bringing them home." "Absolutely not. Those children are cursed. These children are innocent." Amara's voice rang out with authority she'd never used before. "Their parents died serving this village, and you abandoned them to die in the dark. I forbid this. This is my home too, and they're staying." Kofi appeared behind his aunt, eyes wide with surprise, but when he saw the children's gaunt faces, something shifted in his expression. "Amara's right," he said quietly. "They stay." Mama Sade sputtered in outrage, but found herself outvoted. The children entered the house for the first time in months, eyes wide with wonder at simple things: walls, warmth, the smell of cooking food. That night, Amara bathed them gently, dressed them in clean clothes she quickly sewed, and fed them warm soup. She watched them eat with desperate hunger, and her heart swelled with purpose she'd never felt before. As she tucked them into sleeping mats she'd prepared, little Io, one of the twins, whispered, "Are you going to be our mama now?" Amara's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, my darling. If you'll have me, I'll be your mama forever." All 4 children smiled for the first time in months, and Amara realized something profound. Her womb might be empty, but her arms were finally gloriously full. The coming weeks transformed both Amara and the children. She poured all her bottled-up maternal love into caring for them. She taught Zara to read. She helped the boy, Tunde, overcome his stutter by singing with him. She braided the twins' hair and told them they were beautiful. She healed their wounds, both visible and invisible, with patient, fierce love. The children blossomed like flowers after rain. Color returned to their cheeks. Laughter replaced fearful silence. They began calling her Mama without hesitation, and each time they did, Amara felt more complete than she ever had. But the village's response was mixed. Some people, moved by Amara's compassion, began treating the children with kindness. Others, like Neka, intensified their mockery. "Look at the barren woman playing pretend mother," Neka sneered one morning at the well. "Those aren't your children, Amara. Your womb is still empty. This changes nothing." For the first time, Amara didn't lower her eyes. She stood tall. "My womb might be empty, Neka, but my heart is full. Can you say the same?" The women around them gasped. Neka's face twisted with rage, but she had no response. Amara continued, her voice steady and clear. "I spent years believing my worth depended on bearing children, but these 4 souls needed a mother, and I needed them. Perhaps the gods didn't close my womb as punishment. Perhaps they kept it closed because they had a different plan." She gathered her water and walked away, head high, while whispers rippled through the crowd. Something had shifted in Amara. She no longer sought validation from people who measured worth in pregnancies. She'd found her purpose in the margins, in the forgotten corners where abandoned children hid. Months passed. The children thrived under Amara's care. Zara started helping other village children with their studies. Tunde's stutter vanished completely. The twins became known for their joyful singing during village gatherings. People began to notice something remarkable. Wherever Amara's family went, goodness followed. Kofi's fishing catches improved dramatically. Mama Sade, softened by the children's innocence, became gentler. Even neighbors who initially resisted found themselves drawn to help. Then, one morning, during the rainy season, Amara woke up feeling strange. A familiar flutter in her abdomen, except she'd never felt it before. Her hand flew to her belly, eyes widening. "No," she whispered, "it can't be." But it was. After 7 barren years, after finding her purpose elsewhere, after accepting her childless fate, Amara was pregnant. The news spread through Kelara like lightning. People couldn't believe it. Mama Sade danced in the streets. Even Neka fell silent, stunned. But here's where Amara surprised everyone. When the village gathered to celebrate her pregnancy, treating it as the ultimate miracle that finally made her complete, Amara stood before them with quiet authority. "Thank you for your joy, but I need you to understand something. This baby is a gift, yes, but it's not the miracle that saved me." She gestured to Zara, Tunde, and the twins standing beside her. "These 4 children, the ones you called cursed, the ones you abandoned, they were my miracle. They taught me motherhood isn't about biology, it's about love, sacrifice, and showing up. They made me a mother before my womb ever opened." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Amara pressed on. "I was dying inside, believing I had no worth because I couldn't bear children. But then I found children who needed bearing up, who needed someone to choose them when everyone else looked away. They saved me far more than I saved them." She placed one hand on her growing belly and wrapped her other arm around her adopted children. "So yes, celebrate this baby, but celebrate these 4 just as loudly. They are my children too. They will always be my first miracles." Tears streamed down faces throughout the crowd. Kofi stepped forward and embraced his entire family, adopted children and coming baby alike. Even the hardest hearts softened. Neka approached slowly, shame etched across her features. "Amara, I'm sorry for everything." Amara nodded graciously. Then help me make sure no child in Kelara ever hides in caves again." Neka agreed, and together they began organizing the village to care for vulnerable children, ensuring no orphan would ever be abandoned again. Years later, Amara gave birth to a healthy son 9 months later. She named him Tunji, and she loved him completely, but she never treated him as more special than Zara, Tunde, or the twins. All 5 children grew up as equal siblings, blessed with a mother's capacity for love had no biological boundaries. Zara became a teacher, dedicating her life to educating forgotten children. Tunde became a fisherman who always checked the caves and hidden places, ensuring no child went unseen. The twins opened a home for orphans, following their mother's example. And Tunji? He grew up understanding that family is built not just through birth, but through choice, commitment, and love. Amara never forgot the years of pain and Makali, but she transformed that suffering into purpose, becoming the woman who proved that a mother's worth isn't measured by her fertility, it's measured by the size of her heart and the children she chooses to love. The woman they once called Barren became known throughout the region as Mother of Multitudes, not because she bore many children from her womb, but because she bore many children in her heart. And that, the elders would say, was the truest form of motherhood. A message for you. Does Amara's story resonate with your heart? Whether you're walking through the pain of infertility, feeling inadequate because of society's expectations, or searching for your purpose in unexpected places, remember this: your worth is not determined by what your body can or cannot do. Perhaps, like Amara, your greatest calling lies in the margins, in the forgotten places, among the children who need someone to choose them. What if your story isn't about waiting for a miracle, but about becoming the miracle someone else desperately needs? If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear that their worth isn't defined by other standards. Tag a friend, share with your community, or simply let this truth settle in your own heart. You are enough. You have always been enough, and your purpose is waiting, sometimes in the most unexpected places. Drop a comment below sharing how this story impacted you, or tell us about someone who became family through choice rather than biology.